Miram, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me.
I am so happy to be here, Lauren. Your podcast is amazing. Thanks for having me as a host.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. I mean, I've been following you for ages. I've been stalking you. You're obviously someone that's really active on LinkedIn. So I'm really excited for the discussion today. You've worked at some awesome companies. You're doing some amazing things for women. So let's dive in, shall we? Obviously, in the spirit of WISE, my podcast is all about women in sales. And I was particularly keen to hear where you're an ambassador and channel lead at Women in Sales, which for anyone who doesn't know is an awesome community of women in our profession that just seems to be growing day by day. And I wondered, with your kind of mentorship work within that space, what kind of progress are you seeing when it comes to women in sales leadership? Do you think that we still have work to do?
I do. We definitely have a lot of work to do. I think, and naturally in my career, I've always been drawn to sales. And in most of the organizations I've worked for, there's been a lot of male presence. And while I love males, go males, right? Nothing to take away from them. Females have been kind of the underdogs at some of the organizations that I've worked on. So being able to prove that time and time that there can be strong females in organizations that can sell and also bring a lot to the table, whether it's muscle, stamina, hustle, grit, just as much as men can. I think that there is definitely still a lot of work to do. But in all the orgs that I've worked for, we have definitely evolved to being a lot more equitable across females and males and allowing that to kind of remain a very, I would say, a more equitable approach across the board. And so overall, it's been a passion of mine to be a part of Women in Sales. I do lead the sales team ambassador program and sales channel leads in terms of just getting teams to work together and have females come together around sales to allow us to collaborate on resources, insights, tips, tricks, things that work for, organizations across the board, and having all the females come together in one room to make it louder and sound prouder.
Oh, I love that. Louder and sound prouder. That is exactly we need more role models. We need more women being more vocal about how amazing this profession and this industry is. So I love that. Question for you. If anyone wanted to get involved in the Women in Sales community, how do they do that? What does that look like?
Yeah, so there's a LinkedIn page that they can go to directly. There's a link within the actual profile of the business. They would click that link and they can download the Slack. The Slack channel is free. They join it. And there's a bunch of channels across many different cities, locations. They can also go in and join, depending on what type of level of leadership they are. They can join different team chats and also focus on marketing ops versus sales versus operations. So lots of different channels across the board, not just role specific, industry specific, and also location based too as well, which is really nice.
Amazing. And this is the thing, right, is that we're not, all of us in sales, we're not the finished product. We're all having to learn, evolve and grow. And I've certainly seen value in leaning into what other people are doing well and mentorship and guidance. So quick question for you. Have you always made sure that you've had mentors in your sales journey to make sure that you're constantly growing and learning?
Always. I think if you don't have a mentor, you need to get one. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the industry for, what companies you've worked for. I think of athletes like LeBron James and Michael Jordan. There's a whole village behind, some of the best people in the business across, any industry. And without them, without those teams, those mentors, those, idols, constant development around using people in your network to really develop you as an individual is really strong. So overall, without that, you don't have a team and you don't have the ability to grow, because every single person in this world can teach you something different and new that you don't already know or that you didn't know yesterday. My dad always gives me this amazing theory of how you could be the shiniest, hottest Ferrari. It could be worth $1 million. It could be expensive and it's the hottest car in the market. But without 4 tires, a time belt, a steering wheel, gas, and an engine, you're not really going anywhere. So you need those teams around you, whether it's your influencer, your mentor, your team, your boss, a friend, somebody in another industry, maybe in a different vertical or a different field. Tap into those people because you need them.
Absolutely.
Can't go anywhere without them.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And I think that's why I feel really privileged running this podcast, because I'm meeting amazing people like you, and your network just evolves and grows. And then I see what you're posting and I think, oh, that's interesting. That's what I want to do for my team. So yeah, I guess a key takeaway for the listeners is like, get involved in communities, networks, consider finding mentors that can be internal or external, people to soundboard and learn from.
Yeah. And even your peers at work, it doesn't have to be somebody that's either making more money than you or has a better title. Sometimes often you find that like the people that have failed the most are probably the best mentors in your life because they can teach you through their experiences and through those challenges. So oftentimes it may not look like a mentor or feel like one, but having somebody that you can talk to that's kind of experienced the same hurdles or struggles in life, whether it's professional or personal, are mentors in themselves. And so different levels of mentorship across the board versus what you want to accomplish, but you need everybody in your life that is either going to be an inspiration in your career to be able to propel you forward. So, and it can be even that in turn with also the personal aspect too in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite sayings is, out of crisis comes growth. Because, out of all these challenges, and sales is challenging, right? We have to deal with rejection, which we'll get to later in the episode, but it is hard. So to, as you rightly say, speak to people who've maybe failed or found something difficult but come out the other side, that's going to help you grow.
Yep. And one of my favorite Robin Williams quote is that every single person you meet is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. So that is a lot of really good inspiration and insights to be able to really consider when you talk to people that like, they might seem like, at a surface level, they might not be the mentor. You don't know because you won't understand kind of their experience and journey. But as you get to know more people every day and you get to know their stories and their pitfalls and their failures, like those people are small mentors in little small ways that you don't ever really notice in life. So take everything that you learn, definitely not with a grain of salt, but learn that like there's a lot of inspiration in all the people that you meet in your career, even as small little mentors and not necessarily your one focal point mentor.
Absolutely. You're never on your own, right?
Yeah.
So selfishly, right? Amazing companies you've worked at, Miram. Google, Apple, Amazon, Gong. Extremely jealous of the exposure that you've had. And talk me through that. Like, how have the experiences working at some of those huge names like shaped you as a leader? Because I'm sure they're all very different as well.
Yeah. So working at some of these large companies, you are kind of a bit small and no one's noticing who you are because there's a large amount of employees, large orgs, large different types of leadership teams. And you can become, right, very, I guess, like unnoticeable or not kind of not somebody that like is aware of who you are very early and often, unless like you're kind of in top leadership. And so I think the way that you made a name for yourself, or the way that you can make a name for yourself, is that you have to kind of go about your day, treating every single day as a brand new mission. Every day requires grit, hustle, being hungry, being curious, wanting to learn, and never settling for less. And that means pushing yourself every day, being uncomfortable in order for you to get comfortable. And slowly but surely, little by little, you start to climb the social ladder of being able to like talk to your colleagues and your team about your products, your services, and feel really comfortable about, what you're selling. And you become kind of like the mentor and inspirational member of your team. But to do that, it's like, it's hard to stand out at a Google or an Apple, but the way you stand out is you literally focus on yourself, you focus on your customers, you focus on your day-to-day, and you focus on being able to stand out and reinvent yourself every day. I can't be the same around every single day because my customers aren't the same, my prospects are not the same, my book of business isn't the same. And, the economy evolves, needs change across businesses. And being able to really shape and mold and be adaptable to your day is really important. Every day is a different day.
Absolutely. Adaptability, I think, is key, isn't it? And I was going to ask you, I mean, you talked about grit, hustle, determination, which I think are three absolutely crucial traits of successful sales leadership. Like, you have to get up every day and have full on energy to approach each day. Because as you say, it changes. It could be the economy changing. It could be your KPIs, expectations changing. It could be your customers changing. Do you think you're born with those traits, or do you think they can be taught and learned?
Ooh, Lauren, that is such a good one. I think that you definitely have to have the traits of wanting to be able to, pick up a phone and it not impact your day. Those traits are kind of hard to like teach. Those traits are like you either have that like fire in your belly, like mom says no, gonna go to dad, dad says no, gonna go to grandma, the door slams in your face, you try the back door, you've gotten 75 no's, you're gonna keep going till you get 100 no's and then maybe get another yes, like finally. I think that takes persistence, hustle, patience with yourself. Those things aren't necessarily always taught, but even if you don't have those skill sets, you can still learn those soft skills by putting yourself out there, picking up the phone, getting hung up on, failing every day, it feeling crappy and crummy. And those eventually, like day after day, those lessons will help you kind of form the personality and character to be able to handle rejection or handle, not getting what you want from your sales career right off the bat. And it takes a lot of time. So is it built? Some of it is, but I think a lot of it is like putting yourself through like failing often to be able to rise to the occasion and be like, okay, this felt shitty enough as many times as it did. Now I know like I can do this and I can handle it. And I'll just try to go at 75 emails or 65 calls and still get a no and be okay with it because I know I'll get a yes soon.
True. And let's go into that rejection piece because I think that's so crucial to touch on. Your view there is like, keep going, don't let it impact you. But how do you manage a team that are hit with rejection day in and day out? Like, how do you reset them? How do you tell them to like reinvent their approach? What are your tips there?
Oh my God, this is important because it's all about what you tell yourself in your mind, right? Like it could be the end of the world or it could be not a big deal. And so I have a silly scenario of like, if you're on a flight and you're being, you're being waited on, there's a nice, airline stewardess, they come to you and, they don't give you a blanket. Silly example. If you make it the end of the world, that stewardess will be like, oh my goodness, like it is the end of the world. I can't believe this person is really upset and now they're panicking and it's like a whole horrible experience. But if you make it that, you know what, you didn't get me my blanket, it's not the end of the world. The stewardess makes it the, oh my God, it's a big deal. I can't believe I left your blanket. It's such a big deal. So when you make things not a big deal, right, they end up becoming a big deal for something else and for someone else. And so every day it's telling yourself it's a new day. Whether it's a no, it's K-N-O-W. They don't know enough about you, your team, your product, your vision, what you're selling, why you want their attention, why you want to book a meeting. And the mindset is that like they will not remember you. If you send 75 emails and you feel like you've badgered every prospect in your book, you've emailed them to the point where your computer is going to pop and explode. They will not remember you at the end of the day. We're all humans. We've got a million things going on throughout the day. They've got kids, families. Maybe they don't have kids. Maybe they're not parents, but they've got a lot of things going on in their day-to-day between their family life, their personal life. They're not going to remember you at the end of the day. And if they do remember you and it was a bad experience, guess what? Try again. It's okay. We're all human. Like, even though there's a lot of professionals that we talk to on a day-to-day basis, they're not going to care. They're going to care that you're a human first because we're targeting human beings with feelings and it's all about EQ versus IQ. So if you make a mistake, they're not going to be like, oh, I'm the director of sales. How dare you make a mistake? They're going to be like, this person's human. If you have fun with it, make it humorous, make it weird, and own it at the end of the day. So it's all about owning it and just being really fun with the no. No is okay.
No is okay. And at least sometimes see no as a bit of a challenge. I think that's my competitive spirit in me. I'm like, okay, you say no now. I'm going to keep showing why, to your point, why I think that my company is going to deliver you the best results. And it may not be right for you now. That's okay. But I'm not going to go away. I'm going to continue to educate, add value, and just be there. See how maybe the partner that you're working with is performing. But it's like I set myself my own goal of, you'll come back. You'll come back. Yeah. We'll get a pilot. It's just not now, right?
And not only that, if you make no a fun game, like, oh, they said no. Like, if you really wanted something, you're going to, like, plan out in your brain, like, all right, I'm going to, like, there's going to be, like, an attack plan. I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And, like, you got to make it fun. Like, no is going to happen. No is a part of life. Just like failing is a part of life. Just like, you don't get on a bike and just figure out how to ride it tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, you fall, you scrape up your knee, you bump your chin, you bleed, you need a Band-Aid, you get hurt. You learn from the no's. And that's important. It's like, how do you make it more fun every day, even if you get a no? Because eventually the no is a maybe and the maybe is a yes. And no just means not yet or not right now.
Well, let's talk about fun. Because I feel like that's coming through already, Miram. Like, you've got a great energy, you are fun, and something that you mention, what I've seen on your LinkedIn, is using humor as a sales outreach tool. And honestly, like, I think I'm just a really aloof, polished Brit where I don't do that. But maybe I need to have a bit more fun and let my walls down a bit. Obviously, I'm very authentic in my outreach, but I'd say that my style is a more formal authenticity. Whereas I love that you're like, no, I'm just going to throw myself out there and just do something silly. So talk to me, and especially for the listeners, how are you using humor, and when is it like paid off for you, or maybe it's backfired? Give us a couple of examples.
It's definitely been both. I mean, early in my career, it's definitely backfired. And I think as long as you can get a prospect to laugh, you're memorable. Whether it's a good laugh, a bad laugh, you're memorable at the end of the day. And that's the goal, is to be memorable. But for me, I always feel like laughter is the best medicine, right? Like, our jobs are hard. KPIs are hard. Goals are hard, right? Like, outcomes, quarters, revenue, metrics, like things that people want to accomplish every day are just hard overall. And it's definitely daunting when you have to do that with stress, plus 75 people emailing you that are like very cutthroat. It sounds the same jargon. It feels like it's just dry, and it's, reeking of sales energy, reeking of commission energy. So when you have a lot of fun with outreach and you kind of keep it quirky and weird, it creates this element of like, who is this person? There's a personality behind that email. Ooh, okay, like that was kind of funny, or that was a different approach. Like, all right, I peeped that, or I see it, and I think it's something that's worth acknowledging and responding to. So it's almost like changing up the narrative, changing up the way that, they're expecting an email that's like, hi, Tiffany, nice to meet you. I'm Miram from so-and-so. Like, would love to tell you about my services, and here's what we offer. Here's how we can help you. Thank you. Do you have time next week? Everybody is used to that, but they're not used to like, hey, sounds like a bad date. Want to try again? I'll bring some candles. Like, I'll get you lunch. Like, that stuff works, a really funny example. I was doing an email outreach for somebody on my team, and like I made them a cappuccino at one of our phone booths, or sorry, one of our, not phone booths, old school, one of our overall, booths that they stopped at a conference. And so I made a humor of like, I know I made you a cappuccino and I hope it's just as good as Pepsi. And this person happened to be a Pepsi decision maker. So it's like finding ways to like tailor it to their brand, tailor it to who they are, tailoring it to making it really fun, and making it about them, but like tying it to an innuendo that like they're going to laugh, and a metaphor that's going to make it really unique, relatable, and funny. So unique, relatable, funny.
I love that. And what about if it's backfired? Has anyone ever written back and it not land for them, or not really?
Absolutely. And then there's where you just own it. Like, I must have missed the mark here. Sounds like I probably didn't, land with the correct messaging. And if you just own it, and then you ask like, would it make sense for us to still grab 20 minutes? Care to try again? That always works too. Ooh, like one strike, I'm out. How about strike two? Do I get a strike two? Making it really fun.
And I think it's so interesting as you're saying this, because in my head I'm thinking like cultural differences, where obviously you can hear I'm a Brit, but I live in New York City now, so I relocated. And I must say, like, for me and my team and trying to train a North America team, I am noticing like cultural differences sometimes in the way that you can prospect. And I do think something a little bit more fun and jovial lands quite well here. I'm not sure if it would land as well in the UK, which is making me laugh, which is probably why it's not my style necessarily. But I wonder if you could give a selfish tip for me as well, because one thing I've noticed here, certainly in New York, which I love, is it's all about being direct and assertive. It's like, hey, just get to the point. Like, what have you got for me? Rather than sometimes we can, again, British people tiptoe around and be like, oh, we're trying to help you, but actually just get to the point. Yeah. Do you find that that's something that works for you, which is being like walking the line of, listen, I think I've got something amazing and you should talk to me, but doing it in a way that doesn't come across as too much?
Yeah, because I think everyone's trying to sell something, So like, you don't want it to come across as like, again, like commission breath. I'm trying to sell you something. Here's what I want from you versus, ooh, like, here's what I want to know about you. There's a very different approach of being interested in something than trying to be interesting about, here's my product, here's my price, here's my platform. So I think the biggest thing is like, you want to build relationships early and often, but it takes time to do that. And the way that you build it is not through like sending hardcore emails of like getting straight to the point. It's about building that little tidbit of humor. That person made me laugh. Oh, this must be like a really fun person, or this must be a person that like has like a, you know, a life outside of who she is or where she works. And so finding those relatable moments through humor really does work. And I think stepping out of your comfort zone is like, throw a fun joke. Like even if it's a dad and you see that he's like a, you know, 3-time dad girl on LinkedIn, like, oh, I saw that you're a 3-time dad girl. Make a funny joke. Like I'm one of 3 sisters, and I'm really not, but like I'm one of 3 sisters. If you really are, like use that to your advantage. I'm one of 3 sisters, you know, can't imagine all, you know, the household that you live in, and drop something funny about like, I don't know, like how it's probably tough to navigate, you know, being a 3-time girl dad and also working in an emotional workplace with also a bunch of other people that have emotions as well. I don't know, making it fun. Like that's probably a bad example, but like Eggland's Best is a really good example. When I was at Yelp, we were targeting Eggland's Best, and the prospect happened to be, you know, a really high profile individual that we were trying to get in front of in marketing. And I wrote in the subject line, I'm the chief egg officer of my household. So like every day doing my grocery runs and picking up Eggland's Best, can I tell you what's important to me as the chief egg officer in the household? So like doing things where like you're creating fun ways of being memorable, even if it's in subject lines, like, you know, is my cappuccino as good as the Pepsi? For somebody who works at Pepsi, you know, finding a target audience of, you know, I'm in your target market. Like if I'm targeting Nike as an account, you know, like I went on a 6-mile run today using these new pair of, you know, Air Force Ones. Care to know how that run went with these new shoes? Want to get me to buy more? Making it really fun at the end of the day. So telling a story and tying it to something that will make someone laugh is always important.
I'm going to try it and I'll report back. That's my commitment to you. Is like brush off the Britishness and just go for it, Lauren. So I'll report back.
And you can start with subject lines are the easiest ways. Subject lines. If you can't do the body because it's like a little bit intimidating, it's too much, you don't know what to say. Subject lines are fun, like left me on red. I see you. Do you see me? You know, like, shall we try again? Mm-hmm. You know, getting ghosted, send a little ghost emoji, making it fun. Like, did Halloween come early? You know?
Yeah.
You ghosted me. Like, finding ways to make it fun in the subject line.
And I think it goes back to what you said, like, there's real humans at the end of a computer and at the end of a phone. Like, we all have personalities. We are not robots. So it brings a little bit of fun to the day. So.
Yeah. And even something that you can remember about them, like silly example, like there was a prospect that looked like Ben Affleck that I met at a conference, and we sat and we had lunch, and I wrote in the subject line, like, Ben Affleck was cool. So glad I got to meet Ben Affleck, but like, I know I'll never meet him, but it was so great to meet like another version of him. So like, you know, like finding ways to make people laugh through complimenting them, through appreciating them, through pointing out fun things about them. And everyone's different and unique. So using their authenticity and their individuality to like really use that in an email does work really well.
Amazing. And I was going to ask, because you've built things like outbound playbooks and like helping to increase win rates for, you know, small business right the way up to enterprise. Does like humor feature as part of your playbook? Like, what does that process look like to make it repeatable and scalable?
It does. So humor is really big, but also going like I have this like term of like go for the jugular.
Yeah.
Because like that, like you could go for the neck, but like the neck won't move. Like the head won't move without the neck. So like finding ways where you're like going for like exactly what you want and being bold and brave. So it could mean like sending somebody a text, like sending a DM a text, or sending, you know, somebody a voice note and making it fun, right? Like, hey, I know you probably never listened to this, but wanted to reach out from so-and-so just to say hi, and I've noticed all the great things that you're doing. Sending a gift card to somebody and being like, hey, this isn't for you. It's actually for your entire team. Great job to you and the entire team for having an amazing quarter. So like doing those things are really important in terms of like standing out, but also like it helps with win rates because you want to be able to like stand out through all the noise, and it's really a needle in a haystack. And so getting through those haystacks is going to be really important. But to answer your question about like win rates, it's reinventing yourself every day, being persistent, having a game plan, being really stringent with your calendar blocking, cold calling, email, LinkedIn voice notes, LinkedIn messages, Loom videos, Syndosos, like finding ways to just keep at them and not losing that momentum. And I know it gets hard when you're at 3 weeks in, 17 emails deep, 4 calls, 2 voicemails, and it's all crickets. It's hard, but you got to find another way, like visiting them in their office, dropping off a care package, starting with emailing somebody on their team, or something that I've done in my past, which is absolutely completely crazy. And I am a bit of a lunatic when it comes to sales, but like in a good way. Filling out a form on the website get somebody to call you, and it's an SDR that will try to like sell you their products. And then you could be like, well, actually, I was looking to get in touch with somebody on your team because I'm really impressed by your products and services. And so making that connection with an SDR can then put you in touch. And they're more likely to be the open gatekeeper to introduce you to like the VP of marketing or a sales manager or a VP or a director. So kind of doing a bait and switch and a flip the script on them does work. Filling out a lead form, and then you get to hear back from somebody if you've just been completely ghosted and have had zero luck and you've thrown every dart you can possibly throw.
That's such good tips. I'm sending this to my team and they're going to listen to it because you sound like me, but it's time blocking. We put in golden hours into our calendars that are prospecting hours. Those golden hours don't have to be calling every time, but they could be creative outreaches, as you rightly say, experimenting with different platforms. Video is powerful. Being confident enough just to send a voice note, to text someone, literally text someone, that works quite well for me, actually. Yeah. And like you said, like showing up to their office with something. And also like going back to the fun piece, it is fun. I always say I hate the impression that cold calling and sales is really tough and it's kind of this negative language that you were talking about. Actually, it's funny. Coming up with a creative idea about how to get through to a company, don't see it as cold calling. It's all warm calling, in my opinion. And there's a reason, and you're just trying to do something that's a little bit out of the box.
Yeah, and Lauren, to your point, like if you think about the first time you ever met your best friend or the first time you ever met a friend in your life, like it probably was awkward to be like, I got to start this conversation or I have to get to know them. And it's like, so it's the same thing, like every stranger you meet, right, is eventually like an awkward conversation, and then a stranger becomes your friend. So it's the same as prospecting. Like, yes, it's a prospect, but this eventually can be a friend a friend or a relationship that you build over time. But every interaction that we've ever had from our earlier days were all, net new and cold. They were never warm. Nobody brought you like, hey, here's Samantha, here's your new best friend. That you have to build that through humor, through connecting, through getting to know yourself, getting to know her, getting to know you, and putting down some guardrails and being open to just the approach of, connecting on a human level.
Wow. There is so much here. And now I'm going to do quick fire. And the first question, you're going to have to narrow this down, Miram.
Let's do it.
First question. What is the top trait you think to be successful in sales?
Hungry. 100% hungry. 100% hungry. You have to want it, and we have to want it so bad. And you have to want to like be the person that will do anything it takes. Whether you think you're being annoying, whether you think it's too much, whether you think they didn't read your email, or whether you're like, oh no, like they're going to hate me. Like, just do it. Just do it.
What about a female sales leader or mentor that's maybe inspired you on your journey?
I would say Alexine Muddlewater. She's the founder of Women in Sales. She's absolutely amazing. She came from being a seller. She created an amazing platform, gave lots of thousands of women across the board, and even men that joined to a voice to be able to share their experiences, their expertise, their knowledge, data sharing, education in this space, and creating a community at the end of the day, because we really are, at the end of the day, just communities among many other communities that exist within one big community at the end of the day. There's like the human community, and then there's like the sales community, and then there's like the sales leader community. Like we're all just communities at the end of the day. So being able to create that has been really inspirational. It's such a great honor to work with this team and to help her with, driving more traffic to the site, and obviously, of course, driving traffic to the actual platform and to become a member. So overall, I'm all for females. And we got to do it.
Awesome. I will post a link to her LinkedIn as well in our article when we publish this, so people can give her a follow, because it is an awesome community. I'd like to get more involved in it, actually. I don't think I'm involved enough. So I'll pick your brains on that afterwards. Last question. Sellers, we're always looking to grow. As you said right at the beginning, right? Adaptability. We need to be changing all the time and evolving. So I often saturate myself in books and podcasts and resources. What does that look like for you? Have you got any tips of books or podcasts?
Yeah, I do actually. So, one of my favorite mentors I've ever had most recently that he just became a mentor about 4 months ago. It's called The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And so she's been amazing to read and listen to. I love her podcast. That's the one that sticks out the most too. Just from like an overall, like more recently that I've been kind of involved with. So that's like the big one I would say.
Okay, amazing. And did you say she's your mentor?
No, just somebody that like I'm currently like invested in it. Oh, I wish she was my mentor. No, I'm saying my mentor recently recommended Mel Robbins. So I've been recently looking at the Let Them Theory and then watching a podcast from Mel Robbins as well.
Well, I love that. And just a funny story from my side, even at the end of this podcast, which shows that the hustler in me is definitely there. I was reading a book the other day. It's called The Coaching Habit. And it's a really interesting book about, interesting questions that you can ask your team to kind of get them to give you the answer rather than be directive and tell them. And I think the author's really cool. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers on LinkedIn. And I wanted to ask him some questions. So I wrote to him on LinkedIn and I did a kind of bold move. And I think I put the subject as like being bold and brave. Yeah. And I was like, I want to talk to you. Like, I think your book's really cool. And I've actually got some ideas my side. Can I have a call with you? And he wrote back and was like, I love people who are bold and brave. You can have a call with me. And I've got a call with him in his EA.
Nice. That is amazing.
So yeah, even if she's not your mentor, write to people. Honestly, even authors, people want to help people. And yeah, having the confidence just to knock on doors and be like, help me. I'm someone that really wants to grow and learn, I think is a great tip to end on.
Yeah. Exactly. And to the piece on Mel Robbins, it's like, I'm sure she wants to know that she has an impact on many people, that listen in and tune in and really value her content. So even like, hey, keep up the great work. I'm a huge fan. You've changed my life is great. So I think doing that more often is great. And if you don't have a mentor, like tap into the people that you're reading books upon, authors, co-authors, podcasts that we're listening to. Like I love the President's Club podcast, like reaching out to those folks all the time and just saying, hey, I noticed the things you're doing. Keep up the great work.
Amazing.
You're my mentor without being my actual mentor, which is great.
There you go. I feel like if there's anything that someone will take away from this episode, it's like your energy, Miram. So thank you so much. Like there's so much good stuff in there. I don't know how I'm going to pick the snippets for our videos, but no, I really appreciate it. You're a force to be reckoned with. And it's just been a pleasure to sit down with you today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Lauren. It is amazing. You are a force yourself. Lots of female empowerment out there. Lots of amazing females that can do it. We got to just try. Don't be afraid. You won't lose anything at the end of the day. What you'll lose out on is not trying and being successful.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren.